clock on the wall says it's 6 o'clock, and the League of Women Voters say we start on time. So that's what we're going to do. My name is Jim Stuyven. I'm a member here at St. Andrews, and it's my job, simple job, to welcome you all here for this debate or forum between the candidates for the office of mayor of the city of Encinitas. Tony Kranz and Bruce Ehlers have graced us with their appearance and will be answering questions that all of you will have an opportunity, if you wish, to submit to our question sorters. Other than that, it's my pleasure to thank the League of Women Voters for helping put this forum on tonight. In fact, we as St. Andrews, we're simply hosting this event. The event will be conducted and monitored by the League of Women Voters in accordance with their guidelines and their rules, which will be explained to you in a moment. So it's my pleasure to introduce Kathy Nauman, who is the representative and will serve as the moderator for this forum here tonight. And thank you again for coming.
Good evening. Thank you all for joining us tonight, Saturday, August 10th, 2024, for this Encinitas Mayoral Candidate Forum. We want to extend a special thank you to St. Andrew's Episcopal Church, especially Jim Stuyvens from the Faith and Action Committee for hosting this forum. And you, Encinitas residents, who care about the future of your community. I am Kathy Nauman. I am a member of the League of Women Voters, and I'm going to be your moderator tonight. The League was founded in 1920 when women first gained the right to vote. And while our name is the League of Women Voters, please don't let that fool you. We welcome everyone to join our mission to promote active, informed public participation at all levels of government. I'd also like to point out that the League of Women Voters is strictly nonpartisan. We never endorse or oppose any political party or candidate for public office, although we do sometimes, in a completely separate arm of the League, our advocacy arm, take positions on vital issues. Our guiding principle for forums is to provide a fair and impartial platform for candidates to speak directly to voters and for voters to learn about the candidates' positions and priorities on issues that concern them. In that vein of fairness and impartiality, neither the League, question sorters, the timers, or myself live or vote in Encinitas. Fairness and impartiality are also central to the format and ground rules of tonight's forum, which I'd like to briefly review now. All participants, including St. Andrew's Episcopal Church and the candidates, have agreed to the format and the ground rules. Specifically, tonight is not a debate, but an opportunity for the candidates to respond to questions from the community and for the public to hear how the candidates would address the issues. Candidates have agreed to focus their answers on their vision and positions rather than commenting about the candidates' qualifications, character, or activities. If you'd like to submit a question to the candidates, please raise your hand and one of the volunteers will bring you a card and a pencil. One question per card. Please write legibly and be as succinct as possible, and address your questions to both candidates, not just to one of them. Raise your hand once you've completed your question card. A volunteer will come and get it and take your question to the question sorters. Question sorters will sort questions by topic, eliminate duplicates and those not relevant to the office being sought, and any that are inappropriate. We will include as many of our questions as time allows. Tonight's candidate forum rules call for civility on the part of both candidates and the audience. The hallmark of democracy is the willingness of our community to treat each other with courtesy and respect. Therefore, audience members, we ask that you not applaud or otherwise express positive or negative reactions to the candidate's statements. Thank you for your help in ensuring a civilized discussion on the important issues that face your community. Tonight, we will be hearing from Tony Kranz and Bruce Ehlers, the candidates running for a 2-year term for the office of Mayor of Encinitas. We will start with 2-minute opening statements from each candidate. After opening statements, we will begin the question and answer period. Generally, candidates will have up to 1 minute to respond to each question. I may allow more time for a complex question, or I might insert a speed round where the candidates answer yes, no, or I don't know. I'll let you know up front if that's going to be the intention of the question. There will be no separate rebuttals. However, the candidates may choose to use some or all of their time to rebut another candidate's response. Following the questions, each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement in reverse order of their opening statements. The order in which the candidates are speaking has been determined randomly. We rotate the order with the candidates as they respond to questions. Our timer, sitting right up front here, will give the candidates a 30-second warning. Can you show what you'll be waving? With a yellow sign, and then we'll hold up a red sign when the candidate's time is up. Candidates must wrap up their answer when the time is up, or they will be cut off. So let's get started. Candidate Ehlers is going to be going first, and you have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Start now?
You can start now.
Okay. Hi, I'm Bruce Ehlers, the current City Council member for District 4. I'm running for Mayor of Encinitas to return to our founding vision for Encinitas. Like many of you, I was attracted to Encinitas by our beautiful coast, small beach town ambiance, overall quality of life, and unique character of our 5 communities. This vision is why the city incorporated and should guide our decisions. Many people feel we have lost our way. I will return us to that vision. My qualifications include being a resident for 40 years and being involved in city affairs as a council member, planning commissioner, and volunteer for 25 years. As mayor, I will vigorously defend our original vision, just as I have done for the last 2.5 decades. Recent decisions by the state and previous councils threaten this vision and irreversibly alter our community character by approving very large and out-of-character developments, converting parkland to housing, and attempting to reverse citizen-approved protections like Prop A. Prop A, as you'll remember, the Encinitas Right to Vote initiative, guarantees the right of voters to approve increases in residential density or height. I was the author and spokesperson for Prop A when it passed in 2013. Since then, too, Prop A required votes have proven that it was needed because the voters denied these attempts by past council to increase density and height. Then, when a past mayor and council unsuccessfully challenged Prop A in court, I provided key testimony and we won. Defending our city and Prop A from out-of-touch mayors, councils, and the state was the key reason I ran in 2022, and it is why I'm running for mayor now. Let's have a mayor and a council that defends our city from overreaching state mandates and protects our city from overwhelming development.
Thank you. I'm Tony Kranz, and I currently have the honor of serving as mayor of the city of Encinitas. And prior to my term as mayor, I served 10 years on the city council. And first, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for moderating this forum, and also St. Andrews for hosting. St. Andrews, their Faith in Action group, is one that has done tremendous work with those less fortunate in our community, and I greatly admire the work that they're doing. I have just recently run and was elected as mayor, so many of the things that I'm going to continue to work on, we talked about a couple of years ago. One of them is housing and homelessness. It is the issue around the state. Staying in compliance with state law is critical. I was part of a council that voted to fight state density bonus law. We were sued and we got beat bad. And the notion that we can fight the laws coming out of the state, Sacramento, is folly. It will be expensive. We spent $3 million already to get in compliance with state law, and it's critical that we continue to stay in compliance. I will also be focused on public safety. We have a very safe, we're one of the safest cities in the state. I will also continue working on infrastructure issues. We've done tremendous work to build infrastructure at great expense, but there's a lot of work yet to be done, so we will continue with that. And then finally, environmental issues are critically important, and so I look forward to continuing the work that I've been doing for the last 12 years. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Here goes our first question, and Mr. Kranz, you will be answering first on this one, okay? 1 minute for the questions. Some of them have been put together so that we can kind of hopefully get a little concise answers here. What do you see as potential impacts and/or benefits to Encinitas if the 1% sales tax measure on the ballot were to pass?
Well, the upside is tremendous. We have a deficit of infrastructure dollars. We put in place an infrastructure task force to analyze the projects that have been on the books for quite some time and other needs that have been around since the city incorporated, because the county left us without critical stormwater infrastructure in the older parts of town. So the 1 cent sales tax has the potential to raise approximately $15 million a year for a total of 150 over the 10-year sunset period, and that money is going to make huge improvements in stormwater facilities, both in Northwest Leucadia as well as some aging stormwater facilities that need work desperately. There are road repairs that need to be done. There are some upgrades to intersections that will help traffic flow. Ultimately, we'll end up we're currently spending about $4 million on pavement. We're going to end up with $8 million a year.
Thank you. And Mr. Ellers?
Well, I'm opposed to the 1% sales tax. I was the one vote against 4-4. I think it's highly regressive. I think at a time when we've had double-digit increases in our sewer rates, our water rates, we've had almost double-digit inflation, it's piling on, and we shouldn't be doing it now. We should look and wait and see where the economy goes and not pile on fixed-income people and lower-income people. The other thing is a 14.3% increase in our general fund. That is huge. We don't need that much money. When we say that we need the money for infrastructure, that's not the complete truth. I like to use the analogy as though I put a pool in my backyard and then I turn around and go to my parents and say, I need to borrow money to buy food for the kids. That's what's happening here. We didn't spend the money on basic infrastructure first, but we did spend it on some non-essential projects, good projects, but non-essential. We need to reverse that and spend it on essential projects and infrastructure first.
Again, I'd like to ask, please no applause. We're in the interest of consideration, we're not doing any applause, please. Okay, we have several questions regarding the housing mandates. Candidate Ellers, you'll be going first on this. Will you take any actions as mayor to reduce state housing mandates in Encinitas? What action can you take? Should Encinitas join other cities opposing state control? Absolutely,
and that is exactly along the lines of what I would do. The other thing is I would immediately support ourneighborhoodvoices.org, which is a statewide initiative that would bring local back to local control. We need to, there are quite a few cities that have been fighting, Huntington Beach, Redondo Beach, all up and down the state. And there are groups like Cal-E, Livable California, Catalyst. I've been a member of them for quite a while now. I've been fighting. I just need to get a cohesive city council with a council majority that will go fight for our local rights. If, for instance, our neighborhood voices were to pass in, let's say, 2026, we would have the ability, we would be back in control of our local land use ordinances, which, by the way, we have a lobbying policy that we just returned to. The local control had been taken out. We just put it back in this year as a result of me getting on the council. So we can lobby for this, too.
Candidate Kranz?
The state has been on overdrive trying to implement new housing laws, and we fight back where we can. We oppose those laws that are impactful in negative ways on the local control issues. I will continue to do that. I was put a council member initiated item on the agenda a couple of years ago when it was time to decide whether we supported our neighborhood voices, and I got no support from my colleagues, but that is something that I think we should be continuing to monitor. The initiative seems to be having a hard time getting off the ground, so it's not something that's really an option at this point. Following in the footsteps of Huntington Beach isn't what I want to do. They've been just getting crushed in court, and it's not a good use of the city's money to continue to fight lawsuits that we will never win. So I'm going to do my best to avoid the impacts of development and continue to fight to make our city the quality of life better.
Thank you. Our next question is regarding affordable housing. What is your strategy to secure existing and increase affordable housing for our teachers, medical staff, lifeguards, children raised here, and seniors who built our community? Candidate Clancy, you go first on this one.
Yes, thank you. We just put in place a affordable housing task force that's going to look at how best we can get to the real affordable housing numbers that we need. Current law with density bonus and deed restrictions does not work very well. Several of the projects that have been built under our housing element, they have 3-bedroom units that are renting for $8,500 a month. That is market rate, and it's crazy that we're seeing that happen. So I will work with the school districts to take advantage of the laws that allow for them to consider developing on their property, and there will be other creative ways that we can address this. I'm working with Deputy Mayor Allison Blackwell, and we will be appointing a 5 community member task force to join us in the conversation in the next couple of months. It'll be a very aggressive look at some creative solutions for the issues that you just mentioned.
So after we defeated Measure T, I was on a task force with the mayor and with the former mayor talking about this very same issue. As Planning Commission chair, I had the Planning Commission recommend that these R30 properties, all the properties, the 15 properties we upzoned, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended a much higher inclusionary rate of lower income affordable housing for those, because we were giving those developers a free upgrade, right? Giving them millions in value. We wanted to get part of that back as a public benefit. That recommendation, unanimous from the Planning Commission, I was chairman, went to the council, and they knocked it straight back down to a free upgrade. So one of the ways I would do it would implement exactly what we tried from the Planning Commission, but for some reason the City Council chose not to implement that. How many $1 million homes do we have to build to get these affordable houses built? It's crazy.
Okay, thank you. This is another one along the lines of housing. What do you believe Parkland, Lot 7 on Quail Gardens Drive, should be used by the city or for any other purpose? We may never be able to purchase more parkland again. And this is starting with Candidate Ellers.
This one's easy for me. I voted no, 1-4. I lost that vote. This was bought in 1998. I pulled the report. I looked at it. It said it was bought with park funds for, quote, park use. It's 9.5 acres, and it's right on the corridor where we have already approved 1,100 additional new homes that are not built or occupied yet. Yet we're trying to give it away as parkland, as affordable housing. The other thing is it keeps getting touted as 100% affordable. If you look at the scenarios that COSMOT, the financial analysis company, looked at, the first 3 scenarios are 40% affordable, 50 and 60% affordable. Only the last one is 100% affordable. So it's really not 100% affordable. A good portion of it is going to moderate income. A moderate family of 4 can make $145,000 a year in San Diego County. It's just crazy. So I'm opposed to giving away this parkland. It's way too expensive.
Well, first of all, nobody can outdo me when it comes to keeping the city's property on Quail Gardens Drive out of the housing element. I led the 3 votes that kept it out of the housing element and will continue to oppose the development. I do think it's reasonable to explore what the impacts and the costs would be for doing that, but ultimately my opposition to developing there is that issue that he just brought up. There are a lot of homes being built in that corridor right now. So I have opposed it. He misrepresented the vote. The key vote was to go through the Surplus Lands Act process, and I voted with him. We lost on going through the Surplus Lands Act, so that did happen. The other votes have been about whether we explore what a project there might look like, and that was to be able to make an informed decision about whether to pursue it. Ultimately, the percentage of affordable drives how big the gap is, and so that's the key.
Thank you, Candidate Kranz. Thank you. Okay, our next question is regarding Leucadia, and this time you will go first, Candidate Kranz. When are you going to fix the flooding in Leucadia, and why has it taken so long? Please, again, no reaction from the audience.
Well, we have been building, planning and designing streetscape for many, many years, and that streetscape project had $7 million worth of stormwater facilities in it. The problem is that those facilities, the pipes were going into a pipe that's way under capacity and constantly full. So I worked to change the plans to make sure that we had an approved plan to put in stormwater facilities, and we are doing that now. I was the one that led making sure that the entire length of the streetscape on the north end of town is going to have a 60-inch stormwater pipe, which is going to alleviate a lot of flooding. But the sales tax measure is critical for completing the rest of the stormwater facilities that are necessary in order to keep the alleyway next to the Leucadia roadside park from flooding. It's not going to be a 100-year capacity stormwater facility until we build the whole system.
Thank you, Candidate Kranz.
Yeah, so as soon as I got on council, this is an item I looked at in depth. I found the Q3 report is the key report, and it basically shows that it's going to take $51 million to solve flooding all over Leucadia. It's interesting that what happened was there was one night where we were approving segment C of streetscape for little over $20 million for the pretty stuff on top, and only $4 million for the pipe, 60-inch pipe underneath. And unfortunately, that would leave 2/3 without the drainage pipe under that we'd have to come and dig up and redo. And I pulled that item off consent calendar. The mayor at the time got upset, but in the end, I was able to work a compromise where we moved that pipe to the more expensive sections, and eventually there was a scramble to find money, and I support the fact we found the money, but going into that, there was no money allocated, and this would have been in the March time frame, somewhere around there, and in the end, we did end up putting it all under, but I pulled the item and triggered it.
Thank you, Candidate Endorse. And now, again, please hold your applause. And this is another question regarding Leucadia, and this time you'll be starting, Candidate Endorse. What is your plan or position for a pedestrian crossing across the train tracks in the Leucadia corridor?
This is one where I think we agree. For 2 at-grade crossings spread by a half mile and basically bifurcate in 3 segments, so you'll be within any one place in Leucadia. In Leucadia, you'd be within a quarter mile of a at-grade or undercrossing or an at-grade crossing. So I support that implementation. It's absolutely critical. We can't have people illegally crossing the tracks. So.
Yeah, I agree with him on that and led the efforts that we're currently undertaking, but it's more important that I go back to the issue related to stormwater. I had no problem with him pulling that item off consent. He's new to the issue of streetscape and stormwater. I have been leading the council in making sure that we have the plans that are necessary to implement and build that infrastructure. We were putting the infrastructure under the roundabout so that the street wouldn't have had to be torn up again. And I led the charge to get the money that was necessary to build the pipe in the entire section. We had bidded the job with additive alternatives, specifically so that we could pursue the money, find the money to build the stormwater facilities in that segment. So our approach was really classic and the prudent way to approach it. And because I'm doggedly in pursuit of finding a way to get the stormwater disposed of properly in Leucadia, we accomplished that. And it's my leadership throughout this process. The reason there was a Q3 report is because I got it done.
Thank you. Okay. Our next question is regarding homelessness. And Candidate Kranz, you'll be answering first.
Okay.
Do you support a homeless shelter in Encinitas?
There is likely to be a time where we're going to have to make that choice, but right now we have a homeless facility, the Buena Creek Navigation Center, that's actually located in Vista, and it's been a critical facility for our efforts to alleviate homelessness in our city. The Sheriff's Department now has, along with our social workers, a place to offer shelter for people that are currently living on the streets or in their cars. So that's a critical facility. Until we reach the point where we're needing to find somewhere other than that, I think that it is the right solution and the right approach. We just had a new Supreme Court decision on homelessness, and our Sheriff's Department is now operating under that new law. We have ordinances that weren't being enforced because it was against the Ninth Circuit decisions in Martin v. Boise and Grants Pass, and so we're now seeing some impacts from that new Supreme Court decision, and I support the work the sheriffs and our homeless action team is undertaking.
Okay, thank you. Sorry that you a little bit answered. I'm going to ask this one.
Is he going to answer that question?
I get the answer too, I hope.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Ditto, no.
I guess we'll let you.
Yeah, okay.
So I apologize.
I actually generally agree with what Tony said there. But not all homeless are equal. There are some that are drug addicted and psychotic symptoms, and I don't support opening that kind of facility with that level of care in Encinitas at this time. And I think that's not too different here. I think we do have CRC doing battered women, sheltering battered women in Encinitas today. So, and I have no problem with that. And I think if we were to ever do it, and I'm not supporting doing it right now, it would have to guarantee, whatever we did would have to guarantee there was no impact just outside the facility. So that would be the key to be. But at this time, no.
Okay, thank you. I apologize too for that.
No problem.
Okay,
we're not shy. We'll speak up.
That's right. You get to go first on this next one. It's still on homelessness. I realize Mr. Kranz mentioned it a little bit. Let's do that a little bit more. In light of the recent SCOTUS ruling, what do you plan to use this ruling to clear the homeless encampments or enforce that ruling?
Well, the Supreme Court recently ruled in Eden's Gardens and Boise that we can now enforce our anti-camping ban. Now, we were already in a position because we put in place the Buena Creek Navigation Center and had beds. We could do it then too. So I am for enforcing our public safety laws, our anti-camping laws. Stopping defecating in public and threatening behavior in public. We need to make our city, our parks, and our streets safe for the citizens to go about their business. We can't let people be threatened or attacked in the street. So I'm for increasing enforcement while at the same time offering the care and the beds and the shelter and the services that are necessary to transition these people off. But at this time, we do not have a law that will let us compel them. So there has to be some cost. So you'll hear me talk about a carrot and a stick. We used to have to just do a carrot, but I think we should have to do and need to do a carrot and a stick.
Okay, thank you. Kevin?
Yes, and in fact, the Sheriff's Department now is implementing the stick policy. and we're going to be having a report come to our agenda that will look at our homeless action plan and get reports from the Sheriff's Department on the effectiveness of the new approach post the Supreme Court decision on Martin v. Boise and Grants Pass. There is no question that the issue of homelessness is one of the most pressing that we face not only as a community but as a country. And I will continue to work with our law enforcement, social workers, and city staff to address the issue in a humane way. But ultimately, the folks in our community that have been referred to as service resistant because when offered shelter they decline the offer, they need to think twice about that declination. So it's critically important that we continue to work to address it.
Okay, thank you. Our next question, Candidate Kranz, you'll be going first on this one. Do you support term limits for Encinitas mayor or city council members? Yeah, Candidate Kranz, you go first this time.
I do not see a need for the council to put it on the ballot. If there's enough support for it, there could likely be a petition circulated for it. I have seen over the years that there are effectively term limits by voters voting out council members. Bruce is trying his hardest to prove that there are term limits. But, in the end, I think that there is a lot to be gained by the experience of council members, and the kind of arbitrary tossing out of people who have gained significant experience is something that I don't think is in the best interest of the city. I have a tremendous amount of transportation experience through both North County Transit District and Sandag, and I'm working to address issues that relate to the impacts of railroad through our city. And other traffic-related matters, trying to implement complete streets as much as possible so that people feel safer choosing to leave their car at home.
In a nutshell, yes. It was Mark Twain who said politicians should be replaced early and often. And I think, but I do see a need for it. Now, the time limit should be long enough because there is a learning curve here. It takes a few years to come up to speed, and we don't want to have all that knowledge go away. But there's a certain, you get worn out after a while, I believe. I've seen it. I've been involved in this for 2.5 decades. I've seen it in every council member occur over time. You get worn, you think you've heard everything, and that's the time at which a term limit should kick in. And so, yeah, I do fundamentally support term limits. I think it would help. I don't know that we have a problem today with that. It could be 10 years, it could be 12 years, it could be a longer time. And ultimately, it would be a choice of the people in voting at an initiative. So I'm the Prop A author. I believe in the vote of the people. So whatever the people say, it's good.
Thank you. Please, we ask you again, please hold your applause. The next question, you will be going first, Candidate Ellers. This is on climate change. The city of Encinitas has been a leader in many environmental issues. At a recent Climate Action Plan workshop, staff listed a healthy zero waste program as being one of the top actions that will reduce emissions. However, the city does not give the public the option of throwing their organic waste in green containers at the beach, any parks, City Hall, or even some city events. Given that the handling waste is the city's responsibility, what will you do as mayor to strengthen Encinitas' leadership towards zero waste?
Well, just to address the organic waste at the beach, it's hard to get people to sort it, but I would absolutely support having organic waste. At my house, we barely throw anything in the regular garbage anymore. It's all going out in the organic and in the recycling. So, what was as far as the Climate Action Plan, there are some things that if you read through the detail of the Climate Action Plan, it's good. It's got some places for improvement. I would rhetorically ask, how many facilities at Encinitas have solar electric on the roof? One. Just one. Public owned. And it's the City Hall, and it was done back in like 2012, 2010, back when Maggie Houlihan was here. I would think that we should have that across all of the fire stations, community center, and so I would like to, as mayor, lead there. Some of the stuff we can do is we are decarbonizing faster through market penetration of electric cars and telecommuting. Let's do that type of stuff and encourage that at the city.
Yes, so our climate action plan is something I'm quite proud of. It's one of the best in the county, and we have recently been beat out by La Mesa. We took second place in an analysis of actually reaching the goals of our climate action plan. So that was a study done by the Climate Action Campaign in San Diego. I'm very proud of the work that we've done. Bruce is a little late to the solar conversation because he wasn't on the council, but I know that we did analyze putting it on all the city facilities. The challenge is that it's millions of dollars. There are ways that you can finance that, but again, we're at kind of the max on our borrowing capacity. So if the 1 cent sales tax passes, you can bet we will be putting solar on a lot of buildings that we own and a lot of parking lots that belong to the city.
Okay, thank you. And the next question, Candidate Crange, you will be going first. Please describe your plan to fund infrastructure needs. It seems our roads are getting worse. What is the budget for road repair? I guess that's kind of two different ones. Let's just stick with the infrastructure needs.
Well, we every year go through the budgeting process to identify how much unallocated money there is available for funding of infrastructure, capital improvement projects as they're referred to. It was the work of the infrastructure task force that went through and looked at the backlog of work because of our pay-as-you-go approach. And it was their recommendation that we work to raise more revenue in order to be able to address some of the long-standing infrastructure issues in our city, not the least of which is the very impactful flooding that happens in Leucadia. There are railroad projects like a quiet zone and grade crossings and a lot of things that are really important for our community when it comes to quality of life. So if we end up as a pay-as-you-go because the sales tax measure doesn't pass, it's going to be very slow, but I will continue to work with the resources that we have if the voters decide we're not going to get that 1 cent sales tax revenue in order to address the list in a much more effective way.
Thank you.
So in my opening, I talked about funding primary essential infrastructure first, and that's what we should have been doing and what we should do. So if I look back over the last 10 years and I look at the costs we've spent on several projects, Pacific View, Streetscape, and Surfers Point, it's on the order of $100 million over the last 10 years. And so that same discretionary amount of spending should be available going forward, and perhaps even a little more due to increase in property tax and whatnot. That's where the money should come from, and that's how we're going to pay for basic infrastructure such as pavement. In the case of pavement, our PCI, Pavement Condition Index, has been steadily dropping for 12 or 15 years, and we need to go from about a little over $4 million that we've been using in transit funding to about 8 to 10, so an additional 4 or so. And that over 10 years will be about $40 million. So you can see it's on the right order of magnitude. And same thing with stormwater infrastructure. We've been spending $250,000 a year, and we need to up that to about 10 to 20 over the next 10 years.
Okay, thank you. And Candidate Ellers, you'll be going first on this next question, which is right along the same line. I guess you've addressed it a little bit. Why does it feel like the city is spending money on beautification of not important infrastructure like pipeline in Leucadia?
Oh, okay. I thought they were calling that a beautification. I think I've talked about this to some degree.
Yes.
That's a good question because we don't have the people in the majority that would put basic infrastructure first. Is it in a nutshell? I'm trying to think if there's anything. I think I've answered that question in my previous time.
Well, Councilman Ehlers mentioned 3 things: Pacific View, Streetscape, and Surfers Point, and said it was $100 million. He needs to get with the facts. That's not $100 million worth of stuff. So we bought historic land that has been with public land for 140 years. and it was a great investment. And it was a one-shot deal, so we did it. I'm proud of the work that we did to purchase that land. The other issue is that the stormwater facilities, as part of the project in streetscape, you can't just put a pipe in the ground. You have to do the curbs and gutters and pipes to connect to that, or you're going to continue to see flooding. So it's critical that we do this project the right way. Some people call it beautification. There are stretches in Leucadia that have no sidewalks. We're putting in sidewalks as part of streetscape for the first time. So this is not just beautification. This is putting in facilities that are going to allow people to take a walk.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Our next one, I'm going to come back to, this was on some of the infrastructure ones as well, but who is responsible for road repair? Why do our roads appear to be getting worse with more potholes? Who is responsible for this? And Mr. Kranz, you are first on this one.
Well, this is an issue that's really critical. The city is responsible for that, and we have been spending approximately $4 million a year, but it's clearly not enough. The El Nino effect of storms really had a significant impact on our roads. Bruce is wrong. It hasn't been 15 years of decline on the PCI, the Pavement Condition Index. It was holding pretty solid for quite some time. We were spending enough. But between the storms and inflation, the ability to repair more roads has been significantly impacted. So that is another reason why the sales tax measure is critical, because we will be able to double the amount of money that we spend to $8 million on road improvements. The notion that we can pay as we go for $8 million worth of road repairs is just, it's going to make it very challenging in order to get that done and build any other projects. If you want railroad stuff, it's not likely to happen if you put all of your money into road repairs. If that's what we need to do, we'll need to do that.
Thank you. Candidate Ellers.
So first thing is my team has gone back and researched streetscape and pulled the actual approvals from city council reports, the actual for the beautification, and separated it from the drainage. The beautification totals $53 million over the last 10 years. So far, we haven't finished going back pre-2017. $53 million. And then the others were the rest that make up the $100 million. There's a great chart that the head of engineering for the city, by the way, I'll answer the question. The city and the city council own fixing the pavement. No other way. And so there's a great chart that Jill Bankston, the head of engineering, has, and it shows the PCI declining, and it shows for a while there it was $3 million in funding every year, then it went up to 4, and then it's bumped up just above 4 now. That's the number we need to increase, because if the condition is continually going down, you obviously have to invest more. So it's up to the council. Get me a council majority that will put the money where it belongs first, and we'll get it done.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is regarding the beaches. I'm going to put them both together. What will you do to put sand on all of Encinitas' beaches, and when? And what will you do to protect the bluffs from further erosion, especially from large winter surf? Candidate Ellers, you're first on this.
See, we just finished the sand replenishment up to Beacons and south, and that'll be back in 5 years. And so I was wondering, why didn't we do sand north of Beacons? And I talked to Kathy Weldon, who is really the key person in sand replenishment she's no longer with the city. She was an employee and a consultant, but she's the one that headed it up over the last 20 years or whatever it is. And she said that it was because in the original sand replenishment project that the author basically could not make an economic benefit findings north of Beacons. And and it's in the report. I'm going back to pull that report, and I'll have it in writing here shortly. But Kathy would be the one that would know. So what should have happened is back then we should have fought and gotten it, because we need that economic benefit. We need the tourism dollars that would come from the Beacons north. Now, why is it so important to have sand in front of Beacons? Is to prevent the landslide there from continuing.
Thank you.
Actually, I know what happened, and it was very unfortunate, but the Coastal Commission would not allow us to put the number of cubic yards of sand on the beach that would have included Beacons. And so we approved more sand as a council, and when it got to the Coastal Commission, they said, nope, you got to go back. And so we went back, we reduced it. Army Corps of Engineers was hesitant to do this smaller project, but eventually they came around and recognized that we needed that as well. So the issue is about environmental issues and the Coastal Commission and what they will approve. There are reefs off beacons, so there are some additional challenges at beacons environmentally. And so, but I do agree that we need to focus on how we can address sand replenishment issues from Ponto Beach south to where we stopped with the Army Corps of Engineers project.
Okay, thank you. The next question is on public parking. Why is it still being allowed for restaurants to take over public parking places, and when will that end? Candidate Kranz, you're first on this.
The encroachments into parking by the dining, but for the various restaurants downtown has proven very popular, and I think that it energizes downtown, activates it in a way that is beneficial not only to the businesses that are downtown, but also to our residents who very much enjoy being able to sit outside instead of inside a restaurant. It was done as a result of COVID, and it proved very popular, so we have continued it. I don't know if you're aware, but COVID is starting to flare again. So the fact that we still have outdoor dining is going to hopefully benefit the community as a whole to reduce the likelihood of spreading of that disease.
So this is another one. It's there because the council approved 4-1. Guess who's the one? To support and continue the sidewalk. I'm ready to get rid of it. I think we need more parking downtown, not less. And in fact, a recent state law change now takes away any requirement for parking, private parking, within a half mile of the train station. So all the private parking will eventually go away, or can eventually go away. I think we need to keep it. There are quite a few non-alcohol food businesses down there that have trouble when they don't have parking nearby, including handicap parking. It was pretty active before COVID with the parking and with the street, with the sidewalk eating. By the way, I'm 100% in support of sidewalk eating, but not taking away parking spaces. The other thing is that this is a permanent way to do it, and our permanent way to do it is not to make any changes to the concrete, is to put K-rails out there instead of orange barriers. I think that's putting lipstick on a pig. So.
Thank you. We have another question on affordable housing. How do you plan to refine the development permit process to prevent developers from using the low housing requirement to manipulate higher density? Any possibility of mitigation?
So I think you're talking about the density bonus law and, yeah, for waivers. So it's something we've been fighting. And again, this is the case where our neighborhood voices would finally return the power back to the cities. I'll remind everybody, if you go back to the late 90s when the state was taking away our sales tax, there was a statewide initiative that stopped it. And then you remember in the early 2000s when the state started giving us IOUs, they were paying us back, but they were giving us IOUs we couldn't spend. And then there was a 2004 initiative that stopped that. We need the same type of statewide initiative, our neighborhood voices, and to correct an earlier statement, the reason that our neighborhood voices has not moved forward, and by the way, I talked to one of the founders directly about this, is that they have been waiting for the wave. The waves hit Southern California and San Diego and the SDSU area in particular. It hasn't hit Northern California. This is a statewide initiative. Strategically, they're waiting to get it across the state and have enough people up in arms.
As mayor, I have to deal with the rules as they're currently written, not hoping that an initiative passes in 2026 or 2028. Density bonus law is one of the oldest and most impactful on our community. It is something that we have struggled with and been frustrated by for quite some time, myself included. It was what we made changes to, which resulted in us being sued in 2014, and the lawyers, being crafty, the devils they are, added the fact that we didn't have a housing element that was in compliance with state law, which started the nightmare that we went through with going to court being ordered by the court in spite of 2 votes opposing our housing element. The judge ordered us to comply with state housing law and do what HCD told us to do. So we essentially, through our votes, gave power to HCD that I wish they didn't have.
Thank you both on that. Coming back to the traffic conversation, do you feel the impact of increased traffic? How will you mitigate the burden of traffic with even more large housing projects coming? Candidate, Grant, you're first on this.
Well, I got involved at City Hall because of the traffic impacts on my street. The local cut-through traffic to get from Vulcan to Leucadia Boulevard and back was a significant impact on my street. And I got active at City Hall. We've been working to address that for many years. There were 3 roundabouts that were approved for Leucadia Boulevard. Unfortunately, Hygeia wasn't built because of the pay-as-you-go shortage of money to do that. And it's been a real challenge with stop signs still at that street. I think that there are steps that we have taken. We are putting in improvements on Quail Gardens Drive and Saxony as a result of my council member initiated item to address those impacts before the projects were completely built out. So I will continue to advocate for smart infrastructure improvements to address traffic impacts.
So yeah, hey, I'm here. I got involved because of traffic on Rancho Santa Fe Road. That's why I'm here 27 years ago. Wow. And we need to address traffic in the neighborhoods and calm it in the neighborhoods and keep it moving on the circulation elements. Rancho Santa Fe Road is not a circulation element. And so we have a policy in the general plan. It's policy 2.4 in the circulation element. It says when it comes to a choice between commuter convenience and neighborhood safety or community character, the latter shall take precedent. And I'm a firm believer in that. And so that's how I handle it. Let's calm it in the neighborhoods and keep it moving on the streets. So one of the things, I will not eliminate vehicle lanes to put in bike lanes in lieu of them. I think we need the vehicle lanes we have.
Okay, thank you. We're going to come back to housing for just a moment. There's several questions regarding things that can be considered, the 3 most important things that we could consider, the city could consider, so that people will be able to have their grown kids, be able to move back here, so that seniors on fixed incomes are able to live here. 3 ideas of things you could do. Your first.
What was the question?
That just 3 ideas, 3 things that the city can consider doing so to make it affordable for seniors who are on fixed incomes to continue to be able to live here. People have a hope that their children could come back and be able to afford to live here.
Well, the first one would be don't raise taxes. First and foremost. Second one is we do have some level of affordable housing. And I always go back to having all the years on the Planning Commission. What is the legal nexus that allows us to require affordable housing? And, you know, can we require a developer to provide 100% affordable? And the answer is no. There's no legal nexus. But the legal nexus is when you build, let's say, 100 houses, you produce a certain number of low-income jobs. And the state says that's somewhere between 15 and 20%. It can be varied. It can even go a little higher. There's no hard and fast rule. And that is the amount that we currently require between 15 and 20, depending whether it's low or lower income. So that's the affordable income, the affordable housing we can provide as a city. We can't demand it beyond that. Otherwise, we've got to tax somebody to pay for that lower income housing. So beyond that, I mean, we have to raise responsible kids, and you have to make money, you know. So
thank you.
I'm sorry. You live in the beach.
Yeah, so one thing that we could and should do is find a way to fund the Section 8 program that we have. It's a very successful program, and it works with existing property owners, homeowners, and it covers the gap between income restricted folks, low-income people, and the cost of rent. That is something that I actually think the state should be doing more of, as opposed to what we currently do with the deed restricted affordable that happens at all of the projects around town. So my hope is that we can do something like that. There are a couple other alternatives. One would be to allow school districts to consider putting in housing on their property. That would be good for young teachers that are just getting started. There is state law that allows that, and I would like to look at how the city can become comfortable with that and make that happen. It may require that we have a Prop A vote, but in the end, I think that it's an idea that is worth looking at.
Okay, thank you. The next question is just a general question. I did give everybody got their chance, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, with reference to Encinitas government structure, what role exactly does the mayor play on a 5-person council with equal votes, and why are you the best person for that role?
I go first, right?
Okay.
Yeah, they're equal. They're actually equal representation. My vote equals the mayor's vote, and they should be equal. The mayor is the chairman under Robert's rules of the meeting. They set the agenda for the meeting, so they've got that power. But in general, it's the same way to vote. And everything we do up there should be, and under me it will be this way, that we should have a consensus on what the policy is at Sandag. We should have a consensus on what we do for our agendas. And for the most part we do that, but there are times where that does not happen. And I want to see that we follow Robert's rules, we pay attention. That hasn't always happened, at least that's been my experience on council, but I think it's gotten better. And it's equal vote.
It's true. When I was campaigning in 2022, I was at a meet and greet, and I said, we have a weak mayor form of government here. And somebody came up to me afterwards and said, hey, that's probably not a good idea to talk about being a weak mayor. So, but it's true. The reality is that it's not like City of San Diego where Todd Gloria can do a whole lot of things without the council being able to weigh in. I have to navigate this so that things that I think are important are supported by at least 2 of my colleagues. And I have been very effective at that, frankly. And that's because I believe in we. I believe in we as a council. I believe that it's important that we work as a team and collaborate. The products that result are generally supported more by our community when that's the way we operate. And I've been very proud of the success that I've had in that over the last year and year and a half.
Thank you. This question is coming back to the parking. How many small businesses do you feel have left Encinitas because of no parking and the difficulty of certain people who make it hard for people to go to these businesses? Mr. Kranz, you're first on this.
I think that there are many challenges of operating business, and I admire people who dive in and do that work. It is especially challenging in Encinitas because the cost of a restaurant or an office in our city is very expensive. So conducting business in this city is a challenge, and I will continue to work to support the local businesses. Parking is a part of the equation, but I don't think it's the ultimate driver. I think that there are many factors that go into the success or failure of businesses. And so I think that it's important that we do what we can to attract people to our community in order to have them frequent the businesses that we have. I think that the parking loss related to the dining encroachments really offsets the loss of parking because the number of people that come into town to support the businesses here is significant.
So I don't know how many have left, but I know some are stressed right now, and they've actually said to me that their sales are down. I'm talking about the non-alcohol, non-food related ones that it's hard for them, and some of these have their own parking. I noticed, and I've gotten quite a few comments. I live in D4. I live in Levenheim. I know quite a few of my constituents no longer go downtown because they can't find convenient parking close to where they go. Also, quite a few elderly and even less accessible people that cannot go downtown because they can't find a parking space close to where they want to go do their business. So, and I mean, really, the problem is mostly occurring in the downtown blocks, right between D and E and a couple blocks down. That's where we're having most of the parking converted, and that's where we need the most parking. So we need to go back to the way it was, basically.
Thank you. Okay, we have a couple of questions that might not take you a minute to answer, but I'm going to ask them each. One is, there is nowhere in Encinitas to recycle batteries. The Solana Center doesn't accept them, and Home Depot and Best Buy only accept rechargeables. Can you fix this? Candidate Ellers?
Yeah, well, what I do right now in the interim, and it's a fairly recent change that happened, that they stopped recycling. I still recycle my batteries. I happen to drive mine up to, I think for our area it's in Vista, but I happen to work up in that area. And I don't do it very often, once or twice a year. So, but yeah, I'm very supportive, as probably everybody on the council, of having a city-sponsored method of recycling all types of batteries. Was there a second question?
No, I'll leave it right now.
Okay, you threw me off there.
I agree with Councilman Ehlers. We should have a drop-off point here in our city. The Solana Center happens to be in our city, and they have historically accepted, but it's become a bit more of a challenge. And I think the city should step up and provide additional resources to make sure that continues. I serve on the Solid Waste Board, which is a JPA, Joint Powers Authority, of the cities that use EDCO for our waste haulers, and it's a subject we talk about a lot. There are two facilities, one in Vista and one in Poway. And by the way, if you're a senior citizen, you can call for a free pickup. And so I would encourage you to take advantage of that. But I do hope in the next couple of months to bring an agenda item that allows us to have a conversation as a city council to prioritize addressing this particular issue.
Great. Thank you. Next question is, can anything be done about the auto and motorcycle noise? Noise in Encinitas seems to be getting louder every year. And candidate Grant, you're first on this. Thank you.
My understanding is that Carlsbad does a pretty good job of this, and I think that we need to look at their ordinance that allows them to address it, because it has become a significant issue. This is another one of those things that when you do business on the 101 corridor, it is really problematic, because the revving of motorcycle engines can be overwhelming, and so I think we do need to address that, and I look forward to bringing the details for how we might do that to the council.
Yeah, I would support it too. I think all of us have been downtown on the 101. Bicycles go by nice and quiet, but then the Harleys in particular, or the motorcycles in particular, come by, and you have to pause. It's almost like having a jet go over when you're down near Lindbergh, and it's bad. So I support that. It's hard to enforce, but I think it also falls under the bigger question of enforcement. And we've lowered speed limits, and I supported the lowering of the speed limits. I think going forward in our budget, we need to allocate more money for traffic enforcement. This would probably fall under that, and hopefully I can get support on that going forward. In fact, our traffic commission recently recommended addition of enforcement patrols to the city council. So hopefully we can go forward with that.
Okay, thank you. And you will be first on this one too, Candidate Ehlers. This question says, do you support conversion of distressed commercial properties to affordable housing?
To me, it's really a question of funding and zoning. If the zoning supports it, I would. But I'm not sure. Well, right now we have state laws that would allow certain types of housing, AB 2011, SB 6, that would allow it in commercial zones. So to the degree it's allowed in the zoning, I would absolutely support it to the degree that, but then the question is, and it's always the question for affordable housing, where does that funding come from? So be careful if you vote for the 1% sales tax. We may see it spent in places that the majority of people don't want it spent, like funding the deficit that will be caused by L7.
Okay, Candidate Kranz.
Yes, so I think we should consider that. And in fact, there are some opportunities under this state law that we've been discussing as a council now a couple of times. There has been a map created to show which parcels in our city are subject to the provisions of 2 state laws. And so it's possible that a commercial property owner could convert. It's possible they could end up with a project that is mixed use. There's a number of possibilities there, but whether we should be proactive in that, I think, is an important conversation that we will be having as part of the Affordable Housing Task Force to see if there are opportunities for that. I think that not only is it that property which is zoned commercial, but also office professional is a zoning type that does have some properties that might be interested.
Thank you. Okay, this is going to be our final question before we go to the closing comments. For the final question, please say what you feel differentiates you from your opponent. And Candidate Kranz, you go first.
Well, I am not as smart as Bruce Anders. He has an engineering degree, and
Please hold your applause, please.
He is always making people aware of his skills with engineering and other things. However, I have a lot of practical experience, and I have a love of this city that's surpassed by no one. I've lived here since 1960 and graduated from the local schools, attended Palomar, and the history of this community is something that I'm very well aware of. I think the other difference is that Councilmember Ehlers lived in Village Park, which was one of the first developments that was a threat to our community character. But it provided him an opportunity to move to this city. And what we have lost since then is the opportunity for people to find affordable places to live.
Candidate Ehlers?
Yeah, so I'm a newcomer. I've only been here 40 years. So I think I know the community character. And by the way, what I support is when it's building within the zoning, that we all moved in here, because zoning is a community right. And I always say, what's the prescribed tool to protect community character? It is zoning. And our state is systematically dismantling zoning and a long history across the nation of how we control our community character. So I moved into Village Park, yep, I moved into Olivenheim, but we built within the zoning, and that's what it should be. Is there an unlimited carrying capacity to the area? No. So, the differences, I think you've heard the differences tonight. L7, overwhelming housing building, financing, 1% sales tax. That's the fundamental differences.
Okay, thank you. Before we move on to closing statements, I'd like to thank the candidates for agreeing to be here tonight, and to the audience for your thoughtful questions, and for coming to learn more about the candidates seeking to represent you. Our democracy depends on people willing to serve and people willing to become informed and to exercise their right to vote. We like to remind people that democracy is not a spectator sport. Thank you for getting in the game. Thank you again to St. Andrew's Episcopal Church for their time and effort in helping to arrange the forum. For further information about forums and election information, please visit our website, lwvncsd.org. We are offering a pros and cons presentation on October 5th at 10:30. The location is yet to be announced, which will be open to the public. These popular presentations are unbiased, objective explanations on the statewide propositions that will appear on your ballot. So mark your calendars and come get informed. More details will be found on our website. The deadline to register to vote by mail or online is October 21st. If you have moved, changed your name, or want to change your party affiliation, you need to re-register. You can register online at the Secretary of State's website, registertovote.ca.gov. It's secure and easy. Or you can get a paper registration form at libraries, post offices, or from us. If you miss the October 21st deadline, you can still register and cast a provisional vote at the Registrar of Voters office and in person at any of the over 200 vote centers beginning on October 26th. Go to the Register of Voters website, sdvote.com, for information about drop box and vote center locations. You will begin receiving your ballots around October 5th. And we'd like you to know that there are more ways and more days to vote in San Diego County, beginning from the moment you receive your ballot in the mail in early October, all the way up until Election Day on November 5th. Once you've filled out your ballot, don't forget to sign the outside of the envelope, and you can mail it or drop it into any official drop box located around the county, at libraries, for example, or you can take it in person to any vote center in the county, many of which will be open starting October 26th. The last day to vote is November 5th. Please encourage your family and friends and neighbors to vote in this election. We also encourage you to visit 411, the League's nonpartisan online website with information about candidates, ballot measures, and links to other sources of information about the upcoming election. You can also access our Easy Voter Guide for useful election information, which will be available online in mid-September. Lastly, I mentioned at the beginning of this forum, the League of Women Voters is dedicated to supporting active and informed public participation in government. We do hands-on work to empower voters to defend democracy. If you would like to be involved with the men and women helping make democracy work for everyone, please become a member or support us with a donation of any amount. It's easy to do. Visit our websites at lwvncsd.org. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Okay, so on to the closing comments by the candidates. They have 2 minutes to share their final thoughts with you. We will begin in reverse order. So candidate, candidate, you will go first in reverse order from our opening. Yes.
Candidate Tony, here I am. So a couple of housekeeping issues. One, there's no difference between Bruce and I on the city's property on Quail Gardens Drive. I opposed it being added to the housing element in a knockdown, drag-out fight with the previous mayor. I continue to oppose development there unless we see what the impacts of the other development in the area is. So, but the difference is that I am willing to look at other city properties for potential inclusion in housing projects. And one of those might be downtown at our City Hall site, which is a place where it would be ideal to build a parking garage. Imagine the parking solution of a city parking lot right there at City Hall. It would, I think, be transformational for many reasons. So I hope Bruce is willing to get creative when it comes to projects that might do that. The other is this notion that $53 million is people, I'm not sure what they're looking at, but we've got $20 million in the north end for streetscape. We spent $13 million for the roundabout at El Portal and all the streetscape that went from basically Marchetta to Basil Street. But that included new sidewalks, it included de-paving, it included bike facilities that are really working very well to encourage people to bike. So it's a critical infrastructure project, but between 20 million and 13 million, that adds up to 33 million, and as a matter of fact, it's a long ways from 53 million. So I hope he'll use facts instead of just throwing out numbers that don't add up. We've had quite a week. We opened Pacific View Art Center. I did an unveiling of art at our El Portal Railroad undercrossing today. Beautiful work. It's a week of art, and it's one of the things that I think people love about our city. We make these sort of investments, and I will continue to lead as your mayor to make sure that we follow through with more art.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters in North County, San Diego, and the Faith in Action Ministry of St. Andrews for hosting tonight's event. Thank you. It's truly a great service to the community. My background and history are well documented online on my website, and you can go look at lots of videos, and same with Mayor Kranz. So I won't try and squeeze it in here with just 2 minutes. Visit my website. My top priorities as mayor would be to defend Encinitas from overwhelming development. Number 2, invest in fundamental infrastructure first. Number 3, enhance public safety by continuing to reduce crime. Advocate for reversing the ill effects that we feel from Prop 47 from 2014. Addressing the homelessness as we've discussed tonight and in carrot and a stick. Number 4, protect our environment by restoring open space funding that was taken away, by restoring the tree canopy, which I think we agree on, promoting native plants, and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Also, number 5, improving traffic flow. I talked about that. And number 6, promoting a healthy business environment, not just for restaurant and alcohol establishments. So in conclusion, I'm running for mayor to return Encinitas to the vision and purpose of our city's incorporation. Most people accept growth and want laws that protect community character to be enforced. The people want essential infrastructure first, chronic homelessness reduced, and they want to feel safe in their town and their homes. That's probably the key one. I hope you'll support my candidacy for mayor. You can learn more about me at bruceforencinitas.com. That's Bruce, F-O-R, Encinitas.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to both the candidates. Please give them both a round of applause. We want to thank you, both you candidates, for your willingness and courage to run for public office. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your great questions at coming tonight. Good night.